Greetings, this is Darkmaster491, and today I'm showcasing my Weakness Policy Rillaboom in some Series 7 ranked double battles. Here's the team that I'll be using along with the rental code so you can try out this team for yourself. This is a team that I built myself, and this team has a lot of interesting modes. There's the Sneasel and Terrakion mode where we have the beat up and justified combo. There's the Terrakion and Landorus-Incarnate mode where we have the Smackdown and Earth Power combo. There's the Tornadus and Terrakion mode where we have the Swagger and Lum Berry combo. And there's the Tornadus and Sneasel mode where we have the Swagger and Foul Play combo. But today, I'll be showcasing two specific modes of this team. The first mode of this team that I'll be showcasing is the Tapu Fini and Rillaboom mode, where we have the Soak and G-Max Drum Solo combo. To execute this combo, I would need to Gigantamax my Rillaboom so that Grassy Glide becomes G-Max Drum Solo. My Tapu Fini would target an opposing Pokemon with the move Soak to change it into a Water type, and then my Gigantamax Rillaboom would get super effective damage onto that Pokemon with a G-Max Drum Solo. The second mode of this team that I'll be showcasing is the Sneasel and Rillaboom mode, where we have the Ice Shard and Weakness Policy combo. To execute this combo, I would have my Sneasel use the move Ice Shard on my Rillaboom to prop my Rillaboom's Weakness Policy, which would give my Rillaboom a +2 boost to its attack and special attack, and then my Rillaboom would get big damage with its attacks. Of course, only the +2 attack boost matters, since my Rillaboom is a physical sweeper. Sneasel has the Inner Focus ability, so it cannot be flinched by moves like Fake Out. Also, since it's a Dark-type Pokemon, Sneasel is immune to Prankster status moves, so it's a pretty useful support Pokemon. So let's get to the battles now so you can see the Weakness Policy Rillaboom in action. In this first battle, my opponent is going to lead out with a Regieleki and a Galarian Zapdos, while I'm going to lead out with my Rillaboom and my Tapu Fini. If I were my opponent, I would expect the Rillaboom to go for a Fake Out or potentially be Choice Banded and try to take out the Regieleki with a Choice Banded Grassy Glide. But my Rillaboom is not Choice Banded and it does not know the move Fake Out. My Rillaboom is a Weakness Policy Rillaboom, but my opponent does not know that. I'm going to predict that the Regieleki will use Protect and that my opponent will Dynamax the Galarian Zapdos, since they have to respect my Rillaboom potentially going for a Fake Out or Grassy Glide onto the Regieleki. So what I'm going to do is Gigantamax my Rillaboom, and I'm going to have my Tapu Fini use the move Soak onto the Galarian Zapdos to change it into a Water type. And I'm going to have my Rillaboom knock out the Galarian Zapdos with a super effective G-Max Drum Solo. The move Soak changes the target's type to Water, making it weak to Grass and Electric type attacks. Also, when you use the move Soak onto a Pokemon, that Pokemon would only get the same type attack bonus when using Water type attacks, since it has become a Water type Pokemon. And it would lose the same type attack bonus for any other types of moves that it would normally get the same type attack bonus for. My Tapu Fini is Choice Scarf, so it will be able to move before the Galarian Zapdos can attack. My Tapu Fini will use Soak onto the Galarian Zapdos to change it into the Water type. The Dynamax Galarian Zapdos is going to attack my Gigantamax Rillaboom with a Max Airstream, which will activate my Weakness Policy. My Rillaboom is going to take the Max Airstream really well, thanks to the move Soak changing the Galarian Zapdos into a Water type, which reduced the damage from Max Airstream. This is because the Galarian Zapdos did not receive a same type attack bonus when using Max Airstream, since the Galarian Zapdos is no longer a Flying type. And since the Galarian Zapdos is now a Water type Pokemon, it is weak to Grass type attacks, and my Gigantamax Rillaboom can easily take it out with a super effective G-Max Drum Solo. Also, this is a very bulky Rillaboom with max HP and some investment in its physical defense, so it can take physical attacks pretty well. Now my opponent is going to send out the Landorus-Therian, and the Intimidate will reduce my Rillaboom's attack by 1 stage, but my Rillaboom is still at +1 attack, so it will still be getting big damage of its physical attacks. I'm going to switch out my Tapu Fini and send in my Landorus-Incarnate, since the Regieleki will most likely outspeed my Choice Scarf Tapu Fini, and I'm expecting the Regieleki to target the Tapu Fini slot with an Electric type attack, which is exactly what happens. The Landorus-Therian is going to use Fly, expecting me to target the Landorus-Therian slot with my Gigantamax Rillaboom, but I'm not going to fall for that. I'm going to have my Gigantamax Rillaboom use Max Quake to knock out the Regieleki, since it protected last turn, and it most likely wouldn't try for a double protect. My Rillaboom is still looking pretty healthy, and it's going to get a little more HP back thanks to the grassy terrain. Now my opponent is going to send out the Urshifu Single Strike. I'm going to have my Rillaboom use Max Guard, expecting my opponent's Landorus-Therian to target my Rillaboom with the Fly attack. My Landorus-Incarnate is going to get some big damage onto the opposing Urshifu with a Life Orb and Sheer Force boosted Earth Power. The Urshifu is going to survive on 1 HP thanks to its Focus Sash item, and my opponent is actually going to double into my Gigantamax Rillaboom, but my Rillaboom Max Guarded, so that play works out for me. So that's the end of my Rillaboom's Gigantamax turns, and my opponent is going to forfeit the battle since there's not much that they can do at this point. My Rillaboom could easily finish off the Urshifu with a +1 priority Grassy Glide, or my Landorus-Incarnate could finish it off with another Earth Power. Also, a +1 attack Grassy Glide would deal a lot of damage to the opposing Landorus-Therian as well. In this next battle, my opponent is going to lead with Incineroar and Regieleki, while I'm going to lead with my Rillaboom and Sneasel. This is an interesting situation since my Rillaboom is going to be at -1 attack due to the Intimidate from the opposing Incineroar. It might seem that I am at a disadvantage here, but my Sneasel has the move Ice Shard, so I'll be able to prop my Rillaboom's Weakness Policy using Ice Shard from my Sneasel to give my Rillaboom a +2 boost to its attack. My Sneasel has the Inner Focus ability, so the Incineroar can't flinch it with Fake Out. My opponent is going to Dynamax the Regieleki, but I don't really feel threatened by the Regieleki right now. I'd rather deal with the Incineroar first, since the Incineroar has access to the moves Flare Blitz, Burning Jealousy, and Parting Shot, which could be quite troublesome for my Rillaboom. Perhaps my opponent was expecting my Rillaboom to use Fake Out onto the Regieleki, which may explain why they Dynamax the Regieleki. But of course my Rillaboom does not know the move Fake Out. So I'm going to Gigantamax my Rillaboom, and I'm going to have my Sneasel use Ice Shard onto my Rillaboom to prop my Rillaboom's Weakness Policy, which will increase my Rillaboom's attack by 2 stages, and then it will be at +1 attack. Now my Rillaboom can deal big damage with its physical attacks. The Dynamax Regieleki is going to target my Sneasel with a Max Lightning, but my Sneasel will survive on 1 HP thanks to its Focus Sash item, and the Max Lightning will change the terrain to Electric Terrain, so my Rillaboom won't be getting any priority Grassy Glides when its Gigantamax turns end. The Electric Terrain will also boost the power of Electric type attacks. And my Rillaboom will knock out the Incineroar with a boosted +1 attack Max Quake. My Rillaboom is also going to get a +1 boost to its special defense from the Max Quake attack it just did. Now my opponent is going to send in the Urshifu Single Strike. I'm expecting my opponent to try to knock out my Sneasel before it can attack, so I'm going to have my Sneasel use Ice Shard onto the Urshifu to break a potential Focus Sash. The Regieleki is going to attack my Gigantamax Rillaboom with a Max Lightning, but that's not going to do much damage thanks to the +1 special defense boost from the Max Quake last turn. And the Urshifu is going to use a Wicked Blow to finish off my Sneasel, but the Ice Shard from my Sneasel did break a potential Focus Sash on the Urshifu, so that my Rillaboom can knock out the Urshifu with a boosted +1 attack Max Airstream. This also gives my Rillaboom a +1 boost to its speed. Now my Rillaboom will be able to outspeed any base 100 speed Pokemon that my opponent may have, since I EV trained my Rillaboom to outspeed base 100 speed Pokemon at +1 speed. I'm going to send in my Landorus-Incarnate, and my opponent is going to send in the Metagross, but they are going to forfeit the battle, since there's not much that they can do against my Gigantamax Rillaboom and Sheer Force Landorus. My Rillaboom could knock out the Regieleki with a Max Quake, and my Landorus-Incarnate could knock out the Metagross with a Sheer Force and Life Orb boosted Earth Power. In this next battle, my opponent is going to lead with Dragapult and Urshifu Rapid Strike, while I'm going to lead with my Rillaboom and Sneasel. My Rillaboom is threatening the Urshifu Rapid Strike with a super effective Grassy Glide, which becomes a +1 priority attack thanks to the Grassy Terrain. So I'm going to predict that the Urshifu will use Protect, and that my opponent will Dynamax the Dragapult to try to get some big damage onto my Rillaboom. My opponent Dynamaxes the Dragapult as I expected, and I'm going to Gigantamax my Rillaboom. However, in this situation, I'm not going to have my Sneasel use Ice Shard on my Rillaboom to prop my Rillaboom's weakness policy, since I'm expecting the Dragapult to prop my Rillaboom's weakness policy with a super effective Max Airstream. And then my Gigantamax Rillaboom could deal big damage to the opposing Dynamax Dragapult with its attacks, thanks to the +2 attack boost from the weakness policy. The opposing Urshifu Rapid Strike is going to use Protect, as I predicted, since they have to respect my Rillaboom potentially going for a super effective +1 priority Grassy Glide into the Urshifu. And the Dynamax Dragapult is going to target my Gigantamax Rillaboom with a super effective Max Airstream, which will activate my Rillaboom's weakness policy, increasing my Rillaboom's attack by 2 stages. So now my Rillaboom is at +2 attack, and it's going to be dealing big damage with its attacks. My Sneasel is going to get big damage onto the Dynamax Dragapult with a super effective Foul Play, and my Gigantamax Rillaboom is going to finish off the Dynamax Dragapult with a boosted +2 attack Max Airstream. Also, my Sneasel and my Rillaboom will get a +1 boost to their speed thanks to the Max Airstream. My Rillaboom is going to get a little bit of HP back thanks to the Grassy Terrain. Now my opponent is going to send in the Rillaboom, which will get a +1 boost to its defense from its Grassy Seed item. The opposing Rillaboom is going to use Grassy Glide to try to get some damage onto my Gigantamax Rillaboom, but it's not going to do too much damage. The opposing Urshifu Rapid Strike is at +1 speed, but my Sneasel and Rillaboom are also at +1 speed, and Sneasel outspeeds Urshifu, so I'm going to have my Sneasel use Icy Wind to drop the Urshifu's speed back to neutral, and since my Rillaboom is at +1 speed, it'll be able to outspeed the Urshifu Rapid Strike since I EV trained my Rillaboom to outspeed base 100 speed Pokemon after 1 speed boost from Max Airstream. So my Gigantamax Rillaboom is going to outspeed the Urshifu and take it out with a boosted +2 attack Max Airstream. So now my Rillaboom and Sneasel are at +2 speed, and my Rillaboom is going to get some more HP back thanks to the Grassy Terrain. My opponent is going to send out the Tapu Fini, which will activate the Misty Terrain, so the opposing Rillaboom's Grassy Glides will no longer get the +1 priority since the Grassy Terrain is no longer in effect. At this point, my Rillaboom could easily sweep the rest of my opponent's team with +2 attack and +2 speed, but my opponent is going to forfeit the battle. And here's the final battle of this video. My opponent is going to lead with Goodra and Comfey, while I'm going to lead with my Rillaboom and Tapu Fini. This is another interesting situation since Goodra has access to the Sap Sipper ability, which would make it immune to grass type attacks. Usually when you see a Comfey and Goodra on the field, Goodra could be either a Weakness Policy Goodra or a Goodra with the Sap Sipper ability. And if it is a Goodra with the Sap Sipper ability, the Comfey will usually use a Giga Drain attack onto the Goodra to give the Goodra a +1 boost to its physical attack, since a Pokemon with the Sap Sipper ability gains a +1 boost to its physical attack when a Pokemon uses a Grass type attack on it. And then, the Goodra would deal big damage with its physical attacks. So what I'm going to do is Gigantamax my Rillaboom, and I'm going to have my Tapu Fini use Soak onto the Goodra and take out Goodra with a G-Max Drum Solo from my Rillaboom. And my opponent is going to Dynamax the Goodra, as you can see. So here's the thing. Even though a Goodra with the Sap Sipper ability is normally immune to Grass type attacks, and G-Max Drum Solo is a Grass type Gigantamax move, I will actually be able to hit the Goodra with the G-Max Drum Solo move, since G-Max Drum Solo can be used on the target regardless of its abilities, so it will ignore the Sap Sipper ability. It's like having the Mold Breaker ability, but just for that move. So, as you can see, I was able to use the Soak and G-Max Drum Solo combo to take out the Dynamax Goodra. So now my opponent is going to send out Arcanine, and the Intimidate will drop my Rillaboom's attack by 1 stage. So my Rillaboom is at -1 attack now, so I won't be able to deal as much damage with my Rillaboom's physical attacks, but I should still be able to take out the Arcanine with the Soak and G-Max Drum Solo combo. So my opponent is going to switch out the Comfey for the Ferrothorn. I'm going to get the Soak off onto the Arcanine, changing it into a Water type. The Arcanine is going to try to burn my Rillaboom with a Will-O-Wisp, but unfortunately for my opponent it is going to miss, and I'm going to take out the Arcanine with a G-Max Drum Solo. So now my opponent is going to send in Comfey, and I'm going to make a prediction that my opponent will protect the Ferrothorn and try to set up a Trick Room with the Comfey. So I'm going to use the Soak and G-Max Drum Solo combo once again to take out the Comfey. This also covers the option of my opponent using Ally Switch with their Comfey, so by attacking into the Comfey slot, it's a win-win situation for me. So yeah, my opponent protects the Ferrothorn as expected, and I'm going to take out the Comfey. At this point, it's a 4v1 game, but my Dynamax turns end, so I'm going to have to switch out both of my Pokemon since my Rillaboom's only Grass type attack is Grassy Glide, and that would go before Soak since the grassy terrain is still in effect, making Grassy Glide a +1 priority attack. So I'm going to switch in my Terrakion and Tornadus. The Ferrothorn is going to use Iron Defense to sharply boost its physical defense and also increase the damage output from its body press attacks. But my Tornadus has Heat Wave, so I should easily be able to take out this Ferrothorn with a Heat Wave from my Tornadus. Unfortunately, Heat Wave is going to miss, but Close Combat will deal some damage to the Ferrothorn. Not too much damage, since the Iron Defense boost allowed the Ferrothorn to take my Terrakion's Close Combat really well. And my opponent is going to knock out my Terrakion with a +2 defense boosted body press attack. But hopefully next turn my Heat Wave will connect so I can take out this Ferrothorn. The Ferrothorn is going to recover a bit of its HP from the grassy terrain and leftovers. And now I'm going to send out my Tapu Fini. My Tapu Fini is Choice Scarfed, so it will get in a Moonblast, which will deal a bit of chip damage to the Ferrothorn before my Tornadus can finish off the Ferrothorn with a Heat Wave. Thankfully the Heat Wave connects and I'm able to take out the Ferrothorn, and that will be the end of the game. Here's the rental code for the team once again. If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave a comment below. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed my Weakness Policy Rillaboom showcase, and I'll catch you all next time.